Well, the future of the Confederacy in Virginia is clearly the most emotional issue in this year's governor's race. Now, while health care is important, along with the environment, gun control, other issues, nothing strikes a nerve like what to do with our Confederate statues. I sat down with both candidates for governor, and they have very different opinions. With the sound of the fatal conflict of Charlottesville still ringing in our ears, we can still hear the drumbeat of history at places like VMI, where General Stonewall Jackson was a professor, where marching cadets salute his statue and study his genius on the battlefield to this day. From statues across the Commonwealth to skirmishes over the Confederate flag, where you stand on this riff is as defining as any other issue in Virginia in 2017.
Virginians have always been at the forefront of American history from our very founding, literally, at Jamestown. It doesn't mean we've always been on the right side of American history, and when you're on the side of preserving the evil institution of slavery, you're on the wrong side. But that is our history, and we need to teach it. And my view is that the statue should stay up.
In an interview in Lexington, Democrat Ralph Northam told me he wants the statues removed.
You know, we had a tremendous, horrific tragedy in Charlottesville, just a beautiful town and a wonderful University of Virginia, and we had a group of white supremacists that marched into Charlottesville with their torches and shields and semi-automatic weapons, spewing hatred and bigotry. And we lost 2 of our state troopers. We lost a young lady, Heather Hyde, who was hit by, as you know, a vehicle.
Opponents of your position say these statues are like a magnet for white supremacists. And we wind up with a situation like we had in Charlottesville. How would you offset that?
You know, what we saw in Charlottesville was horrific. And let's remember, too, that 90% of those people were not Virginians. They invaded our Commonwealth, and they invaded that great city.
Even Roanoke, with only a single Confederate statue, unlike Richmond with its famous Monument Avenue, has not been spared and is engaged in a conversation about how to handle the situation. The candidates, however, are not waffling on their positions, perhaps surprising for Northam, who attended VMI. As a VMI alum, isn't it difficult for you personally to not want to honor somebody like Stonewall Jackson?
For a white person like myself to march out the arch of VMI and salute Stonewall Jackson, perhaps I don't think about it as much as, for example, an African American. And as you know, we had the rat line, we had people yelling and hollering and putting people in line, if you will. And for an African American to walk out the arch, being yelled at by white men to salute a statue that is a man that fought for the institution of slavery, they may look at that a little bit differently. And I think we have to sit down at the table and hear everybody's positions.
Gillespie wants to add statues of African Americans who've had pivotal roles in Virginia's history, like Booker T. Washington and even Doug Wilder, the nation's first black governor.
We should add historical context to them, and that is a difference. My opponent believes they should come down. I would keep them up and add historical context, and I would also add more statues that we can teach about as well, where we've been on the right side of history.
Though Stonewall's battles may have been fought more than a century and a half ago, it seems that even today that they are determining the course of Virginia's future.